Hello, happy Sunday. Now, why did I pause like I didn't know it was Sunday? Happy Sunday. Happy October 20th, 2024. My goodness, my gracious. I am Coach Alana, International Spiritual Life Coach. I'm not sitting up straightly, so I do look different when I sit up straightly. Sit up straight. Welcome to Mama Meditations. This is a non traditional meditation practice. Meditation in the sense of thoughts about things that would let us reflect and meditate mentally on things, but also hopefully information that will put your soul at rest. Sometimes it's challenging to put our mind at rest if our soul is not at rest. And so it is my intention to provide information, insight, encouragement so that your soul can be at rest. And what better way to do that than restoring our power? So all year long, and the fact that we only have a couple of months, literally a couple of months left in this year, and all year we've been talking about restoring our power. And I have to say that I'm having this euphoric feeling going on because I am studying a course and creating courses all at the same time. Like my toes have been in spiritual waters for the past, I'm going to say 2 months. And I keep trying to dip more than a toe. I want my whole foot in. I want my whole leg in. I want my whole body in. But yes, there are other responsibilities that must be a priority. And it feels so good. I'm grateful to have done this practice with you. I would love to go deeper. The Evolve community that has been created hasn't even really launched yet, but it's open and things are being created. I don't know that I have an official date for the community to be, launched. I think a soft launch, I think it builds just as any other thing that I have ever built. Building it organically feels good. And so I'm just in this mood of euphoria where I'm grateful. And I hope that the same is true for you. Um, you may have thought that talking about power was going to be an aggressive thing or a takeover of something in your life. And what it really is understanding that there are choices that we all make and having them coming from a position of power where it empowers you, empowers others, and empowers the collective conscious community is more powerful than the control that many of us seek, the desire to be better than or compare ourselves to others. It's not about wielding power over other people. It's really about having sense of self, having an idea of who you are, whose you are, and taking command of your mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical well being. So today, we're going to talk about cause and effect. Last week, we talked about commandments. And if you are part of the Evolved community down in the valley, we talked about during our Wednesday reflection, we started to create commandments for ourselves. Right now, I only have two. Again, this is not a practice where you have to do 10 all at one time. Right now, I have two. And I recognize that the two that I have chosen for myself still need some roots, still need to grow. Although this morning There was some mental gymnastics going on in my head, and I'm grateful for my first commandment because it redirected me back to what I said that I want for myself. So, my first commandment is, Thou shalt create peace. And for me, that means creating mental peace, creating spiritual peace, creating emotional peace. So, this morning, my head was all over the place. And I thought, what's your first commandment? Thou shalt create peace. You're not creating peace with yourself or for yourself by going through these mental gymnastics. So cut it out. And I was able to calm myself down just with a thought, just with a thought. And so if you didn't watch last Sunday, watch it. Join the Evolve community so you can see the reflection. Hey, my love. Oh, I have news for you. Um, Watch the reflection in the Evolve community so you too can start to create commandments for yourself. We're going to talk about commandments a little bit today, but we are really going to talk about how that mental energy that we always talk about, your mind and how it operates in your mindset, is one of the most powerful tools that you could ever have. And so there are spiritual laws, universal laws that we all live under. Universal law, you could call it the God of your understanding. You could call it spirit. You could call it the divine intelligence, the intelligence, however you decide to call the energy of God. For our purposes, we might be using the terminology intelligence because all things are known by an all-knowing God. We're going to call it intelligence. And so the law that we all live under, whether we are a willing participant or not, we are going to also define it as universal law. There are universal laws. I can remember, I don't even know how many years ago it was, but The Secret, if you are familiar with the movie or the documentary or however you want to label it, The Secret came out and everybody lost their minds. There's a book, there's a movie, everybody lost their minds because everybody thought that there was this secret that has just been unleashed in the world that is the key to happiness, that is the key to peace, that is the key to freedom. And it had different thought leaders talking about their experience with The Secret. And the thing about that video that was just always funny to me is everyone would give their story in some shape or form. They would interject it with the secret, like literally it was some mystic secret that had just been discovered, when the reality is universal law is not new. The realization that there are laws that we operate under in the universe is not new. The expectations may be new because we are new. Every generation goes through new things. I am certain that perhaps, let's say, 100 years ago, no one was talking about stress the way that we talk about stress. That doesn't mean that there weren't stressors, but no one was really defining daily life occurrences or human experiences as stressors. No one was talking about insomnia. You know, if there were a population of people who just could not sleep at night, nobody was gathered around the fire pit talking about, oh, I've got a horrible case of insomnia. You know, a lot of the things that we hear and see are fairly new, but the universal laws that we live under and how they operate is nothing new. The Secret did not discover something that, you know, someone went on high and found in some sacred cave. Since the creation of human beings in the universe, and probably billions of years before, the intelligence, the divine intelligence, has always been present and operating. And so we're going to talk about one of the one of the universal laws, the law of cause and effect. And the reason we're talking about this today is because last week we talked about creating commandments for ourselves. We've talked about discipline. We've talked about changing our core beliefs. If we do all of that type of work, we also have to do what has also been done since the beginning of time, is have some consequences. Now, if we go back to one of the earliest biblical stories there is, Adam and Eve, Adam and Eve were given the kingdom with one caveat: do not go over there and partake from this tree. Just don't. You do whatever you want. Just don't go over there. And the one thing they were not supposed to do is the one thing that they did, and so on and so forth. So that did not come without a consequence. Anytime human beings have operated against universal law, there has always been a consequence. So that's how we know that the law of cause and effect has always been in existence. It's not a secret. We may not be familiar with it. We may not know that we are operating under it. We may not acknowledge it, but it has been there since the beginning of time. Do this and something will happen. And so we're not going to take a deep dive into universal law because I feel like that would probably be a course. And we only got an hour and a half today, but we are going to talk about if you are setting goals for yourself, if you are creating or crafting a vision for yourself, even if it's day to day, if you get up in the morning, you say, okay, today is going to be a great day. Knowing that you are creating that before it actually happens, it is an idea in your mind. And you have said, today is going to be a great day. I may have a list of things that I have to do in this day, but I'm going to do them with a great mindset. I'm excited about the day. You're setting the intention before the day even unfolds. You are saying, this is what I intend to happen. And there may be things along your day that you have no control over. You don't control the traffic. You don't control the temperature of the coffee unless you make it yourself. You don't control your coworkers if you work outside of your home. If you are home all day with your children, you don't even control your children. They may be, in whatever mood that you find them in. And if you have toddlers or very little children, their moods are changing every 2 seconds. So there's things that you don't have control over, but you have said, I intend to have a good day. I intend to be pleasant, peaceful, whatever intention you set for yourself. And then all of this stuff starts to happen that is beyond your control. You also get to decide how it impacts you based upon the intention that you set for yourself. And so if we are going to be setting commandments, affirming ourselves and praying for things, if we're going to be doing all of these things, then we should also be mindful that there is an effect for every choice. When you choose to do something, you are creating. Again, you haven't created it with your hands. There are some things that are beyond your control. But if you are saying, this is the mindset, this is the thought process that I'm going to have today, you are actively creating something. You are operating under the law of cause and effect. The cause is the thought, the intention, the prayer, the choice, the things you can't see. You might have a slip of paper with all of the things that you can see. It says, I got to go to the DMV. I have to go to the drugstore. Those are things that you intend to do. You don't even know if you're going to make it there, but they're tangible things. The thoughts, the intentions, the beliefs, the things that we create in our mind are not necessarily things that we can see yet. That's the cause. That is the creation. The effect comes later. And I think we've said more than once in this space that all things are created in spirit first, and then they manifest physically. If you look around your room or wherever you are, every single thing that you lay eyes upon started as a thought. It was invisible. It did not happen. It did not, it wasn't a thing before it actually came a thing. Somebody had to think it. And sometimes we are so distracted by day to day living, we're not even thinking about the things that we're creating with our mind. We're always creating. We are a creation that is always creating. And so, one of the things that I wanted to impress upon us all, that all of the writing down of the visions, all of the writing down of the affirmations, all of the things, the choices, the thoughts, every single thing, the ideas. We talked about having notebooks full of ideas. Those things are not real yet. They are a creation. But the energy in which you create those things can absolutely dictate how they manifest, how they unfold, or the effect of those things. And so I don't have my glasses, but I'm going to read which one? I got two dictionaries this Sunday, y'all. I have the New Thought Dictionary, I have the Revealing Word Dictionary. So let's read from the Revealing Word Dictionary about cause and effect. It's the law of sequence, the balance wheel of the universe. Think about that. This law that we all operate under and that we have power to control is the balance wheel of the universe. If that does not feel heavy, I don't know what else is. And the fact that we can access it. Okay. The balance wheel of the universe. This law, like all other divine laws, inheres in being and is good. And being is capitalized in this sense. Whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. Man lives in two worlds, the world of cause, that's the within, the invisible world, and the world of effect, the without. You can't have one without the other. And I know that we've all heard the saying, every cause has an effect and every effect has a cause. And, that's scientific law, that's spiritual law. I'm going to read from the New Thought Dictionary about cause and effect because it is a law of sequence. Hence, the sequence is this: intelligence or God, the idea, the law, and form. So you cannot have things in physical form without the idea of them. And so as we are going about creating things for our lives, saying, I want to do this, and this is my vision, this is a goal, we are humans. And so we get very connected to the physical part of that. How can I make this thing a reality? What do I need to do? Instead of how do I need to think? How do I need to order my mind, my choices? How are my decisions going to be the most important part of this vision? Because we're human and humans love to see things that are tangible, we get caught up in the effect part. And so we have to pay attention to the cause. We have to pay attention because that is the part that we can control. That is the part that lives within. That is the part that is aligned with in the sequence of things that is aligned with the law. Both of them, the cause and the effect, are aligned with the law, but the cause comes first before the form. And so if there are particular things that you want to experience in your life, you can get very caught up. Like for myself, I have gotten so caught up in what kind of car I want. I'm not really thinking about, do I want, what is the payment going to look like? How is my life going to change? What choices will I have to make? Because if I take on this huge, debt, it is a debt. If I take this on, does that mean I'm going to have to make other choices in my life financial. Like, I'm not even really thinking about that, although I should be thinking about that. I'm thinking about the tangible thing. What is it going to look like? What color is it? Like, I change my mind every week. Oh, I want an SUV. Oh, I want a truck. Or I want a sedan. Like, it. I'm so caught up in the effect that I'm not placing my energy or connecting to the energy of the cause, the thought of it. Have I set an intention for this car? No. Do I have certain beliefs around purchasing the car? No. Is there any idea? No, because it changes every week. So I'm not even clear about the cause because I'm all connected to the effect. Every time I see another new car, I'm like, oh, well, that one looks nice. Huh. I think I might like that. And so anytime you are creating a vision, anytime you are creating a goal, the mindset in which that goal is created is meaningful. If you go into it one way, trust and believe the effect is going to show you what you were believing. If y'all hear noise, that's my turtle. He's acting up today. We were outside yesterday, and so anytime I take him outside and we're out in the sun, he just wants to be out there more and more and more and more, and it's not practical. So he's acting up because I'm in here and now he wants to go outside. So if you hear noise in the background, it sounds violent. He's not hurting himself, but boy, oh boy, is he making a lot of noise. So the level of frustration that we can sometimes have with parts of our life, um, can be directly related to not paying attention to the cause. And so, if there are parts of your life that don't look the way that you would like for them to look, it is human for us to look at the effects. And so we can start to say, oh, well, that's not happening for me because, you know, it's just not my time, or I never get what I want, or I feel like I've been doing so many things and nothing is working out. Sometimes we can get caught up in the doing part, which is related to the effect, instead of thinking about the root, the cause, the clarity that comes with the cause, the thought, the invisible thing. It's like, imagine if someone was going to design a chair, but they wanted that chair to kind of be like a table, and then I want the chair to also have a mirror on it, and I want the chair like they wanted all of these things. How are you going to have the chair if your idea is not clear? The thing that you cannot see, but that is living within you, if it's not clear, the effects is going to show it. You might wind up with something that's not functional, that nobody wants to sit on, because you spent all of your time and energy on the construction of it without the creation of it in your mind. I hope this is making sense. So how do we do that, Yolanda? The very thing we talked about last week. Your commandments will support your causes. Your boundaries will support you having a clear cause. Your spiritual practices will help you and support you in making sure that the law of cause and effect is operating in your favor, because you are more attached and your energy is going into clear thought, clear intention, clear beliefs, expanding your knowledge, creating habits, clearing and balancing your emotions, removing excuses, all of those invisible things, instead of the tangible thing that we place so much time and intention and energy, when the true power comes from acknowledging the great influence that we have on the cause. If we think about that first biblical story of Adam and Eve, if they had just kept their minds focused on internal happiness, internal peace, and the fact that they had been granted and given an entire Garden of Eden, instead of thinking, but that thing we're not supposed to do. That thing I can see, but I'm not supposed to touch. That's what I want to focus on. And oh my goodness, how many times does that get us in trouble? Where we're so focused on the end result, so focused on what it's going to look like, so focused on who's going to be there, how much, so focused on that we haven't put any time, intention, or influence on having a clear thought. And so, as I was creating my commandments um, last week, and I'm continuing to do so, like I said, I only got two right now, but two is enough. I got to work with the two that I have until I feel like I have mastered them at some level to where it's almost an automatic thought. Like I said, it happened this morning. My mind was all over the place. I said, what's your first commandment to yourself? Thou shalt create peace. You are not creating peace for yourself mentally. So, of course, everything looks the way it's going to look. Of course, I'm writing notes in 3 and 4 different places because I'm so connected to what it is that I want to do. I'm not focused on who it is that I need to be or what my choices are reflective of. Let me go ahead and acknowledge y'all. Happy Sunday tea time. Hey, naturally, Allie D. Thank you for popping in. Thank you for I made these. So thank you. When I'm watching something and I need to do something with my fingers, sometimes jewelry is created. And so where are we? Okay, getting caught up in the effects. So for me, I now recognize that some of the core beliefs that I hold, which is the cause, are reflective in the experiences that I'm seeing in my life. Um, before I came on, I'm looking around my office. I'm like, didn't I just clean this office? I swear I just cleaned this place. It looks like a bomb went off. And I remember taking the time to clean it up. This is a reflection of what's going on in here. This is the effect of what's going on in here. The thought process all over the place. Like I said earlier, I'm studying a course, I'm creating a course. There's a lot of mental energy going on up here as of late. And it's reflective in my environment where I swear I just cleaned this place up. It doesn't look like it. And so I could get caught up in the mess, but where I really want to place my energy is why are you so overwhelmed up here? Are you doing too many things at one time? Do you need more organization here, which will be reflective in the organization in my physical space? I am very clear, I haven't always been, but I am very clear that anytime my physical environment, my home, is in disarray, it is a reflection of what is going on for me mentally and emotionally. And perhaps you feel the same way. And how many times do we clean spaces up, or do we feel like we get organized, or we don't even know where to start? And it's literally just moving stuff from one space to another space. And then you go to the next space, and that space is now all cluttered because we are focused on the effect instead of dealing with the cause. It's like, let me get clear in here so that it's reflective. And then I'll be able to make better choices about where things need to go, what things need to go, stay, what things need to get thrown out. You know, we could spend a whole lot of time and energy in the physical space, in the physical realm. But if we're not spending time here in that invisible space that has so much influence over our lives and the human experiences that we have. And so I know I'm always telling y'all to write stuff down. I know I'm always telling y'all to get a notebook and write this down. However, have you acknowledged how frustrated you might be with particular things in your life? Have you acknowledged it, either writing it down or sitting down in contemplation, sitting down in meditation and saying, you know what? I really thought I was going to be further along with this than I am. I feel like I've put a lot of work into this particular area of my life, and I'm not seeing the growth that I thought I would see. Um, I was working toward X, but now I got to worry about Z. All of those things are effects. There is a cause somewhere. And one of the ways in which we can lean into the power of this universal law is to be very, very mindful about our thoughts, our intentions, our core beliefs. There are many of us that have core beliefs about who we are that are based upon what other people think, what other people say, what other people have done or not done. And we have to be honest with ourselves and say, you know what, maybe the reason I'm not further along than I would like to be is because I'm holding on to a belief that because I am a woman, it's not possible, or because I am this particular race, it's not possible, or because I come from a particular socioeconomic status, it's not possible. Or we say things, the reason those people are where they are in life is because they have this, they have that. We can do the mental gymnastics on ourselves. And until we start to acknowledge that, hey, I've been holding on to some core beliefs that are reflective in the human experience of my life. I had the pleasure of going to church this morning with my beloved. And I didn't know what to expect because his church had moved into a new building, beautiful building. It wasn't. It was nothing of what I thought it was. Like, we hadn't really talked a lot about the new church building, but what I was expecting was not what I walked into. And I was looking at I was trying to take it all in and thinking about what it must take to maintain that church, the painting, the cleaning, the windows, the carpets, the chairs. Like, I'm really taking all of it in. It's like, how many people had to come together to make the decisions about what the carpet was going to look like and what the chairs were going to look like and what the paint on the wall. Like, I know one person did not envision all of that. Like, lots of people had to come together in order to do that. So here you have a lot of people creating up here, coming together to produce something beautiful. And so as I'm sitting there, I'm like, if a team or a board of people can come together to create something so beautiful, why is it so challenging for me as one person to sit, to gather my thoughts together and my beliefs together to create the things that I desire in my life? So it wasn't that I was comparing myself to the church. It was really me using the church as inspiration for, if it is possible for a group of people to come together and create something together, and the manifestation of that is this beautiful church, then Yolanda, surely if you got your beliefs together, if you got your thoughts together, if you got your intentions on one accord together, then it would be reflective in the things that you see. But what I know about myself is I will start one thing and then start another thing and then start another thing. And then I'm on this, down this rabbit hole of different thoughts and different decisions. And it's reflective in nothing gets done. So the cause is all of these thoughts jumbled all over the place, and, all my energy being redirected. And the effect of that is no one thing ever really gets complete. And it may be true for you. Y'all hear him over there acting up? It may be true for you that you have the ideas, you have the vision, you have, all of those things. But there's this race to get them out, right? There's this race to complete it. There's this race to have it be physically in your face. It's like, I have a thought, let me write it down, let me create. I have a thought, let me write it down, let me create. And we learned that the law of cause and effect is a law of sequence. Sometimes we're not allowing the sequence to unfold in its divine order. It's like, let me hear from God. Let me align with the law. Let me have the idea, align it with the law, and then it shall take form. For many of us, it's, I want it to take form, and then I'll throw my a bunch of ideas on it, or let me have the idea. Didn't even check with God. Didn't even sit in contemplation to see if this is where my choices and decisions should be in this moment. I just want to do something. I just feel like I got to do something. Most individuals who have ever built something great and grand, they may tell you how long it took for them to see it in physical form because they respected the process of cause and effect. They respected the fact that I can't just think about this thing. I got to see how I feel about it, because what if it's not satisfying? Am I going to throw it all away and jump on to the next thing? What if it's not profitable? Am I going to throw it away and just move on to the next thing? In our humanness, we can get caught up in the experience of the thing. It's like, I just want to see it done. If I don't complete this thought, I'm going to lose it, which is one of the biggest illusions that we tell ourselves, that if we just don't jump feet first into things, we may forget it, or we might lose it, or somebody else might do it first. Or, I've got this great grand idea and it's just burning a hole in my soul. And if I don't create it now without giving it the respect that it deserves, sometimes what we're producing is not sustainable. So the sequence of events that happen with the law, it's in this one. The sequence is intelligence first. Have you sat down with the God of your understanding to be very, very clear about what it is and why it is? Have you taken the time to recognize that there might be some healing that is necessary before you see your vision in physical form? Do you know what your why is? Because that is also part of the creation. The natural sequence is intelligence, idea. Okay, so you have this idea. Is it invading? I like that word. Is it invading all of your choices and decisions? Because if you love it, like you say you love it, then you will align your life to it. If someone else comes along and says, well, I want you to do this thing over here, is that enough for you to say, I'm going to give up my vision, my dreams, and go over here and help these people with theirs? Or this seems like the better deal, or this seems like it's going to make me money faster, so I'm going to go over here. Are you willing to stick with it? Next part in that sequence is the law. So I have to recognize, realize, and acknowledge that every single thought sets something in motion. It's eventually going to have an effect. Every single thought. And so if our thoughts are similar to, for those of y'all who are familiar with Harry Potter, I don't remember which one. I always say that. But remember when Harry, Ron, and Hermione were in Bellatrix's vault, and she had a curse on the things in her vault that if you touched something, it would multiply. And so they needed something that was way at the top of all of the other things, but they recognize as soon as I touch one of these cups, it's going to turn into 2 cups and then 3 and then 4. And it got to the point where the only way we're going to get up there to get that thing is we got to touch this stuff. And so the stuff started multiplying and then it's building up and getting higher. And there's the danger of them being suffocated by all of the things that are now multiplying in the room. Sometimes our thoughts are that way, where we have one thought and then it turns into 2 thoughts and then it turns into 3. And then the next thing you know, we feel suffocated by the number of thoughts that are going on because every thought has an effect. So we should be mindful. So similar to them being in the vault, before they touched anything, they had to be very strategic and mindful. What can I afford to touch that's not going to get in the way of me getting the thing that I want? And so our choices, the beliefs that we hold, work this in a similar way. What do I have to be mindful about thinking about myself, about other people that may get in the way of me manifesting the thing that I desire? I have to think about myself in a particular way. I have to think about other people in a particular way. I have to find a way to remove or unlearn some of those belief systems that are holding me back. And sometimes it's an unconscious belief that we don't know that we even hold. I know I was having this thought earlier that sometimes when I go out to eat, and we haven't done it in a while, but go out to eat with my children, they behave very differently. Now my children are adults. They old ladies. They're adults. But something happens when we all go out. It's like adults going out to eat. It's not mom and her babies, but something happens to where my children's behavior is just very different when we go out. It's almost like they censor themselves because they're with their mom. And I was thinking about how that impacts the type of experience that we have. I would love to experience them as adults. But when we go out to eat, it also depends on who's paying. When we go out to eat, sometimes I can feel the energy of censorship where they may not say things that they would say if they were out with their friends. And I know that it's out of respect and love, and I appreciate that. But I also recognize I'm not experiencing them in their fullness. I'm experiencing them in the way that they feel like I should experience them. And so when you're that mindful of the way that you are showing up in the world, sometimes it can limit the experience that you have. So unlearning some things, and if I could have a conversation with them, I would want them to unlearn the fact that we are at a place in time that y'all are not babies. And I would like to experience you as an adult. I don't know how you are as an adult in the world because you don't really show that to me all of the time. And that can impact the type of relationship that we have. And so we have to remember that everything that we think, everything that we do has an effect and could be impacting the level of frustration that you're having in your life. So are you holding back? I'm saying all of that to say, are you holding back in some interactions, in some experiences because of some belief that that's what you're supposed to do? Are you shrinking yourself in particular situations? Are you going to the opposite end of the spectrum? Are you showing up loud, proud, and on full 100 because you think that this is what I'm supposed to do? Recognize that that will have an effect. Every action, every thought has a reaction, has something that happens. And so I was going to label this consequences, but that word consequences can feel so punitive that I don't want us to get caught up in restricting ourselves. I would like for us to align ourselves to this universal law of sequence that says every thought, every feeling will cause an effect and a ripple in your life. And that is not to scare you, it is to empower you. Because think about it. If I think a particular thing, you mean it becomes. If I make choices that align with what I believe about myself, you mean to tell me I will be that thing, not later, but now? So if I desire to be a millionaire and I align myself with the behavior of a millionaire, a conscious millionaire, not no, millionaire that's just out here wilding out. But if I align myself and the choices that I make in my life, and the way that I speak to myself, and the way that I carry myself, and what I am educating myself, what I'm surrounding myself with, then surely the effect of that has to be me thinking a particular way, operating a particular way, and things showing up in my life that are attracted, which is another universal law, things that are attracted to the energy that I am creating, the vibration that I am holding. It is similar to when particular people enter a room and they don't have to speak a word. You just know what they are about based upon the energy that they carry, the way that they think and believe about themselves, how they show up in the world. There are times when in the child care center, I don't have to speak a word. I can just walk in the room and everybody's like, and it's not because I've been overbearing. It's not because there's a level of expectation that I have set forth, that I have created. I am expecting particular things, and it has been communicated in a variety of ways. But when you are not clear about who you are, when you are not clear about your thoughts, when you are all over the place, the effect of that is no one knows how to read you. No one knows what version of you they're going to get. One day you're this way, the next day you're something else. But if you are true to who you are, the effect of that is people believe you. If you've never given anyone cause to think something else about you, they're not going to think something else about you because all the information that they have to go on is you being true to yourself, you having standards for yourself. So if you're creating commandments, if you're creating a vision, if you're creating goals for yourself, what is your standard? How is it reflective in what you choose? If you say, I want to own a beauty salon, and it takes a lot of work. Anyone who owns any kind of business will tell you it takes a lot of work to be the owner. You're the owner. But every time we see you, you partying, you out here, you out there, you're never in the shop. Why would anyone believe that you are the owner if it's not reflective in the way that you show up? Or when you do show up, people don't respond to you in a particular way because that's not who you've chosen to be. The idea of who you are, whether people have proof or not, starts with you. And so if you say, I want to be a leader, then where are your leadership qualities? If you say it doesn't come based upon giving everybody whatever they want, it comes based upon the way you carry yourself, the way you think about yourself. You will reap what you sow, but it may not always be reflective in the same way. So the other morning, I was reading from Acts of Faith by Iyanla Vanzant during our Morning Mind movement in the Evolve community. And it was confirmation for me and perhaps for others about, well, I use the analogy of having a gumball machine. When I was little, I had several different types of gumball machines. You put your quarter in, turn the thing, and a gumball comes out. And even if the gumballs run out, because you had to go buy the gumballs and fill the machine up, even if the gumballs ran out, you could still put the quarter in and it served like a bank. And there was a little thing on the bottom at the you could take all the coins out and that's your money. It's like these are your gumballs, this is your money. And I may have had two or three of those gumball machines when I was younger. And it's pretty self-explanatory. Put money in, get gum out. And the same is true for any vending machine. Put money in, choose the thing you want, it comes down, right? We can expect it to happen over and over and over and over again. Life is not like that. You might be investing in and putting things in one particular area of your life and it not be reflected in that same area. For instance, let's say you are the person at your job. Nobody asks you to do it. You just do it. You go in the break room and you clean up. That's just what you do because you don't like a nasty break room. You go in there and you wipe down the counters and maybe you wipe down the coffee machine and you're straightening up all of the things and you're organizing and everybody's mug is where it's supposed to be. And no one else does it because there is just this level of expectation now that you're going to do it because that's your thing. Nobody assigned you the job. You just took it upon yourself that you are going to clean this area. And then you start to notice every time I come in here, it's dirty. You might be holding the expectation that if I clean here, everybody else will see me doing it and they will follow suit. That's you assuming that everyone can read your mind and that everyone is you. You go in, you wipe the counter down, you come back, it stains and food all over the counter, and you just cannot understand. And now you're getting frustrated. I just can't understand. Why is it that I clean this break room and no one else will keep it clean? They don't have to. Because you are doing it. And so everyone else's level of expectation is you like to do it, so we're going to leave it for you to do. But you might be feeling if I'm cleaning here, the very least people can do is return the favor and keep it clean. You are going to reap what you sow. It may not be in that area. So you just because you cleaning up at work doesn't mean that work is always going to be clean. But it doesn't mean that your efforts are not going to be paid back to you in another area of your life. Your kindness and keeping that space clean may be paid back in another area of your life that you can't even correlate to what it is that you do at work. Oftentimes, because we're human, we think I've been showing up in this area, and so I expect to be blessed in this area. Cause and effect does not mean that the effect will always be correlated to the cause. It may show up in other areas. So you might be richly blessed in other areas of your life that have nothing to do with work, nothing to do with that break room. Or it could be that there is somebody paying for your parking at work because of what you do in the break room, but you can't make the correlation. You're like, I don't know who paid for parking this month for me, but somebody did it. And they may never speak to you about it. They may never say, I see you clean up that break room every day and I just wanted to bless you. But if you hold the belief that everything that I give will also be returned to me in some shape or form, then we're not looking for there to be a correlation. We are trusting and believing that if I give in this arena, it's going to be paid back to me in some other arena of my life. Now, that takes a whole lot of faith. That takes a whole lot of faith to believe that. And so a lot of the frustrations that we feel can possibly be because we're pouring into particular areas of our lives and we're not seeing that particular area of our life flourish, but we're not paying attention to the other areas of our lives that are flourishing, and we may not be able to make the correlation. And it's similar to that proverb that I've said in this space. It's attributed to an African saying that you may never feel the shade of a tree that you have planted. You might plant the seed, and it may take a long time for that tree to grow. You might even move away from the place that you planted the seed. And I know that's happened to me. In places that I have lived, I have planted trees, I've planted bushes. I don't even know if they're still thriving. I just hope that somebody else is getting to enjoy it. But what I recognize that in other areas of my life, I have been richly blessed. I may not be able to make the correlation between the tree that I planted in New Jersey and the harvest that I see here in Delaware. But I'm holding that core belief that the law of cause and effect is always in motion. And so I'm not worried or fretting about particular areas of my life where I'm not seeing the progress that I would like to see, because I know I'm being richly blessed in some area of my life. That is very, very hard for humans to hold in their consciousness, because we like to see a return on our investment. If we pour into something, we want to see an investment. And in some places and spaces, you will. But there are also some times that the place you pour into is not where you are going to see the bountiful harvest. It's going to show up. But stay fast to the law that says there is a cause and effect. So if you're kind to someone, to some stranger that you're never going to see anymore, that will be reflected somewhere in your life. And you, again, may never put the two together. Trust and believe that there are some kindnesses that you have extended to people that are being extended to you in return, because the law of cause and effect is always in effect. Use it to your advantage by acknowledging that it is present. It will free you up from a lot of frustration. It's like, oh, my business is not growing in the way that I would like for it to grow, and I've poured so greatly into it. Trust and believe that something is being created. But if we get so hung up on utilizing all of our energy on the end result, on the effect, we may never return back to the cause to see if that needs some tweaking. Maybe that's where I need to adjust. We might just get into the energy of, oh, it's just not working for me. And I know that because I've lived it. I can't tell y'all how many businesses I have started and ended because it wasn't doing what I needed it to do. And I kept trying to tweak the end of it instead of going back to the cause, instead of aligning with the natural sequence of the law. The intelligence, where my little book at? The intelligence comes first. So think of it in terms of the idea is manifest and comes from the creator and lives in you first. That happened. That has to happen. And then the idea seems to pop in your head. It didn't just pop in your head. It was living in the ether, and it needed a appropriate outlet. And the divine said, there it is right there. That young lady in Delaware. That's where that idea needs to live. But if that young lady in Delaware doesn't acknowledge that there is universal law going on, I might miss the boat, because I'm going to try to jump right into form. I'm going to jump right into, well, how do we make this thing a thing? Instead of, ooh, I've received this download. I've received this idea, and it is burning a hole in my chest. Let me make sure my thoughts are clear. Let me make sure my beliefs, let me make sure my choices are lining up with this thing that is living within me. Because let's say the thing that's living within me says that I may need to do a fast and not engage in particular behaviors because it's going to impact this thing that I'm building, that I'm creating. I might miss that if I'm just trying to jump right to the end. Well, how do I make this thing a thing? Are you even prepared for it, Yolanda? Have you even sat and communed and gotten clear about what the vision is? And I'm hearing one of my spiritual mothers say, what's the prayer surrounded around this vision? What's the intentionality surrounded around the vision? You haven't even aligned yourself with the law, the universal law that's going to support you and guide you all the way through. We just want to jump to the doing. I want to do, I want to do, I want to do. And so when things are out of balance, when things are not looking the way that you desire for them to look, instead of trying to dissect the effect, why did this not work out? Try going back to, well, what was I thinking as I was doing this? Where were my thoughts? Were they all over the place? Was I distracted? Was I trying to do too much at one time? Was I over here in this person's vision and this person's dream and not focused on my own? Was I imbalanced? Hey, 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 Marissa Price is in the house. So the commandments that we wrote last week, and if you are still writing them, like I said, I have two, and I'm good with those two. I have one, thou shalt, and I have one, thou shalt not. I have, thou shalt create peace, and I have, thou shalt not create distractions. And they can kind of look that they're the same thing, but for me, they're not. I will sometimes tell myself that a distraction is peaceful. So for me, creating peace mentally and emotionally is essential in everything I do. If I'm having an interaction with someone and they might want to go somewhere that I could go, but I have to think, nope, I'm here to create peace. So I'm not going there with you. And that happened a lot last week where, I had to share some unfortunate news with people about their behavior. And of course, they got defensive. And when one person gets defensive, sometimes the other person wants to get defensive. And I was like, nope, that's not what you're here for. You are here to create peace. Thou shalt create peace. So how can I bring peace to the situation? By being silent or by taking an approach? Well, I'm telling you this because I want the best for you. I'm telling you this because I love you. Instead of, you didn't do this right, you didn't do that right, and I don't know what you're going. No, it's, I have something to tell you because I want the best for you, because I love you. And people receive that differently. And even when people were defensive and giving me all of the excuses and the reasons why, I held fast to, I'm here to create peace. I'm not here to fight you. I'm not here to fight anyone. Because I recognize that every action has a reaction. So if I engage in defensiveness, my life is going to look like that. Like I'm always on the defense. But if I create peace, then peace shall be returned to me. Doesn't mean that everyone else is going to be peaceful, but it's going to be peaceful in here. I'm going to see it that way. I'm going to hear it that way. And so one of the ways that you can apply this to your vision and your goals is, instead of getting to the part where you're meeting your measurables, and those of you who have done the SMART goal way, and maybe you've had to do that deliverables, those of you who may have had to do that for work, it's like, workplace goal setting is very different because it's all about the numbers, it's all about the data. Soul work, vision creating, is all about the thought, the feeling, the behavior. And the law. How must I align myself to spiritual law so that I am clear about the choices, I'm clear about my intention, and the effect, which is my life experience, is a demonstration of that. When we see people who are at peace, even though there's chaos around them, it's because they have aligned themselves with the law. I posted yesterday about my turtle, even though he's acting a fool right now. You know, my turtle don't believe that turtles are slow. He is fast, 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 fast. Um, he climbed over some. We were outside yesterday. He climbed over something that I just feel like I was. As soon as he got to it, here I come with my core belief. He's not going to be able to. He's not going to be able to climb over that. He was like, "Boop," and kept moving. I was like, you know what? This turtle does not subscribe to the rumors about turtles being small and taking their time. He does not take his time with anything. And I love that for him. And it is a model of behavior. It's like you cannot believe what other people have said about you or what you are supposed to be, do. You can't. You have to formulate for yourself core beliefs that are going to carry you through and align with the law that says, if I believe this about myself, then what I know to be true is that these things will be returned to me. If I know that I am loving, love will be returned. I know it. It may not come in the places and spaces that I expect it to come, but oh my goodness, it will not run from me. It can't. Vibrationally, it cannot run from me. And I believe it. And so when we see people who, on the outside looking in, it's like, oh, their life is so hard. And how do they do it? Because they have aligned themselves with something invisible to you and I, invisible to the human eye, but felt in the human soul. Felt in the human soul. And I have to say that the leveling up that will occur in all of our lives, because it happens for all of us. It's not just a few that get picked and selected and it's like, okay, you're going to level up and you're going to level up. Um, we are all in constant creation form. We are creating things at all times. There is never a time that you are not creating something, that you're not creating energy, that you're not creating a vibration. And the effects of these creation is our condition, the human life condition, or our life experiences. So when things are out of balance, we can look to, what am I thinking? What am I feeling? And how is that aligned with the law that says, whatever I am creating through my thoughts, through my behavior, and through my emotions will be manifest physically in my life in some shape or form. Sometimes the intensity of that varies. If you are caught up in a storm of worry, it's going to affect you more so than if you have a fleeting thought. You know, sometimes we have a thought that's a reaction from something. Like I was walking down the steps out at church and my knee did a little thing and it was like, oh, and I immediately had the thought of that, well, you're old. That's going to happen. It's like, well, wait a minute. Maybe it's because you were sitting for a long time. Maybe it's because you haven't been walking. There's so many other things that could be the cause of that. But I go right to the old tried and true of, well, you're just an old lady and that's how you're going to feel. I have to be more mindful. The things I say about myself, the things that are fleeting thoughts still have an effect. Now, me saying I'm old is not going to cause a rapid decline in my health. But if I hold that thought and my behavior is a reflection of that thought, then trust and believe a rapid decline of my body will happen. because I am thinking it, I am living it, and my choices and the things that I do in my life are aligned with that. And so it will be so. It will be so. And so, again, I believe, and perhaps this is the beginning of um, me doing just that. Learning about universal law is a course unto itself because there's not one, there's not two. Everything that we engage in can be assigned to or applied to some universal law. Absolutely. Um, as I said, I've been taking a course, creating a course, and so my mind is occupied. Um, but maybe in the future, that is something that we will take undertake together. I listened to our good sis last week when we talked about reparenting. That is the meditation for next Sunday. I had to look in my bag of tricks and like, let me make sure that I have information to provide and that I'm not just, creating things on the fly. So next Sunday, we will talk about reparenting. I think it's as we are talking about mastery of universal law and we're talking about creating commandments, I think it's in alignment because there are particular things, particular spiritual principles that come along with reparenting. I hope if you are on a reparenting journey, I hope that there are some spiritual principles that you are allowing to guide you, forgiveness being one of them, um, inner authority being one of them. You are so welcome, my love. Um, there are many. There are many spiritual principles that will support you when you are reparenting yourself. And we'll talk about that next week. So thank you to you because if you didn't create it, if you did not speak it, if you did not ask the question, then it wouldn't have been a creation. So that's the law of cause and effect right there. You had the thought and it became a reality. So thank you for being so transparent and asking that question. And so, with all of the things that are going on here in the US of A, um, it just it has gotten to a point where for myself I'm no longer listening to, and I love NPR. It's usually what I listen to in the morning when I'm getting ready, but I haven't been listening because there are particular things where I'm already settled, I'm already clear about I'm already clear about what my choice will be in November. So I don't need all of the extra convincing. I was convinced months ago, even when old Joey was still in the room. I was already convinced. I already knew what I was doing. No one has to convince me. The minute that man said he was coming back and wanted to run, I was like, the choice is clear for me. And so I haven't been listening to the news like I typically do in the morning. But because we have started the morning mind movement, it's not necessary. I am as informed as I need to be because one of the reasons that I love NPR is because the stories are so diverse and so varied. And I like to be informed in that way. But through the prayer in the morning at 6 a.m., I'm full. I am full, and I don't want my mind to be shifted into any other energy. I'm so grateful that I finally figured it out. As I said, the evolved community, we are building the plane while it's in the air. And I am grateful for those of you who are along for the ride because I don't know that I would be getting on a plane if it didn't have any landing gear. But many of you guys have gotten on the plane. I'm the pilot, and I'm telling y'all, we can't even land the plane because I have yet to put the landing gear on. And you're like, all right. good for us. We on the ride. So thank you for taking the ride with me. Um, I have to do particular things in a way that doesn't cause me added stress, and we're getting there. We are getting there. Um, so the three levels in the evolved community: the valley, that's where we all hang out, similar to any other social media app. The peak is the membership level, where it's a monthly membership where you will receive additional things. I can tell you that I made a decision that once we have been complete with Power24 in 2025, everything is going to happen in the evolved community. So I may not even be living in the YouTube space. I announced at the membership level, I announced the book for 2025, and I'm excited about that. And then there's the summit level, which is the one on one coaching and the group coaching. And so it's free to join, and you get most of the meat in the valley. Um, we have the Wednesday reflection, we have the morning mind movement, and that's Sunday through Saturday. It's 15 minutes. It's a way to set your mind very early in the morning before you get out into that world. And like I said, I love my NPR. I don't even need it anymore because my mind is set in the way that I desire for it to be set. And so, um, bless your heart. I just got a notification. Bless your heart, my love. Um, I'm just excited and I'm grateful. I am grateful for those of you who are trusting me. I'm grateful that I'm trusting myself and I'm trusting the divine. Um, I can't say that I'm here to create peace if that's not reflective in me peacefully providing my intelligence and wisdom in the world. I can't say that I am a spiritual life coach. If I ain't spiritual, I ain't lifing and I ain't coaching. And so, again, I am so appreciative of those of you who have supported me in ways that I didn't expect. It it blows my mind. It literally blows my mind, and I'm grateful. Um, so we're going to meditate. Um, we're going to meditate. I'm going to hide that because I want us to focus on the soul work. It's a word that I've been saying more and more instead of saying, this is your homework. This is your soul work. And hopefully, the soul work for this week will be that you recognize and acknowledge, number one, just how magnificent you are, that you can create, that you can literally create what your heart desires based upon what you think and what you feel. Like, that is just so magical to me. There was a video with a young man with Cynthia Erivo. I just followed his channel. He's an interviewer. I can't think of his name, but they were drinking a smoothie, and they had this nonverbal communication going on. And so, as I'm watching the two of them and understanding everything they're saying without saying, I'm thinking to myself, Black people are so magical because we can communicate with one another without uttering a word, and you know exactly what is being said, and it's loud. If that is not supernatural and mystic, I don't know what else is. um I just, speaking to your soul, communicating with your soul in ways that are beyond the way we typically communicate with one another through words or through signs, but with your mind, like getting your soul together by telling yourself things throughout the day. even when other people are saying things to you. I mean, I've had the experience where someone is like wah 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 wah, and in my head they have no idea how I am visually blocking every word said so that it doesn't enter my consciousness. That I can do that for myself amazes me. And it just seems so magical. But that's soul work because I care about my soul. I care about my physical body, not as much as I would like. I care, but I care about my soul. And so I want us to meditate on the work that we are willing to do for our soul, which is eternal, which has the ability to connect with things that are not of this world. The fact that you can do that is a demonstration of just how majestic we are. When your soul is right, nothing else matters. But when your soul is not right, oh my gosh, it's beyond words. Um, so let's take some breaths and think about the work that we are willing to do in our soul. Who are you willing to become? What work are you willing to engage in, even if it feels scary to do so, even if it feels like a betrayal to what you know to be true? And for many of us, soul work can feel like you are betraying your foundation. Soul work can feel like you are betraying everything that you have been taught, everything that has brought you to this point, everything that has been said to you by people who genuinely love you. Nothing can impact us the way the words from someone who says they love us can impact us. And sometimes the intent is not malicious, but the wound can be so deep. It's like the image that's coming in my mind is that somebody hitting me with a piece of paper, but it feels like I got shot with a bullet. If it comes from someone that I love, it could be so innocuous. Is that what you're wearing today? And it could feel like my heart is being ripped out because that is the way that I can interpret it. But when I do my soul work and I see things for what they are instead of what I need for them to be, my soul is a little bit stronger each and every time. When I tell myself things like, you are here to create peace, I can climb down off that ledge that I was about to jump off and, body slam someone mentally. Sometimes I can get myself riled up thinking of all of the harmful things that I am prepared to say to protect myself, to defend myself. But when you do your soul work, your soul is like, baby, you don't have to do that. You don't have to hurt and harm other people to protect yourself. You don't have to run and hide and shrink who you are. You can speak to yourself in loving ways and believe it when you do your soul work. And so recognizing and acknowledging that universal law is always operating. Are we listening? Is your soul listening to the guide that is being provided? If you believe that your soul is listening, then I hope that you also recognize how magical that is. A part of you that you cannot see, but you absolutely can touch. Doesn't have a zipper, doesn't have a button, doesn't have a key, but you know that it is there. You're aware of its presence. Your mind, which has the potential to create things in your life and in the life of others. Every single thing, every single good thing that has ever happened to you in your life was a creation, an invisible creation somewhere. Every gift that you've ever received was an invisible creation first before it manifests physically. And if we really, really get an understanding of that, then we won't be fighting ourselves or beating ourselves up for the things that have yet to unfold in our life. Let's get our minds right. Let's get our souls right. Let's focus on that work so that when that thing becomes a physical manifestation in your life, you have the ability to sustain it. One of the things that I am still learning, and perhaps you are too, is that my soul is always speaking to me, but I may not always be listening. Those little nudgings when something doesn't feel quite right, the little whispers, even sometimes when you might just be walking down a hallway and you bump into the wall and it's like someone's trying to get my attention. My body is doing things that I can't really pinpoint why. Your soul is always talking to you. It might be asking for things, it may be trying to tell you something. If you're not doing your soul work, how are you supposed to communicate? If you're ignoring that you have supernatural qualities, how are you supposed to communicate with your soul? How are you supposed to communicate with the divine intelligence that cannot be seen if you're not doing your soul work and have an open portal? My goodness, my gracious, we have an open portal to the divine intelligence. And yet, we fill it up with ego, we fill it up with negativity, we fill it up with fear, we fill it up with doubt, we fill it up with insecurity, we fill it up with what are people going to say, what are they going to think, who am I to do this? I am the great I am. I am aligned with the great I am. The great I am lives within me, so therefore I am the great I am. And I want to do my soul work so that I do not forget that. So that when there are experiences in my life that look like they are coming to break me, I can say, hey, I might bend a little bit, but I will not be broken. I cannot be broken because my soul is solid. I believe in me in the way that divine believes in me. Because if the divine did not believe in me, these things would not be living in my consciousness. I wouldn't do what I do so well. I wouldn't have these dreams, these visions, these hopes, or these ideas if the divine did not say, this is where this should live. Can you imagine if you were going to put any kind of human quality on God? Could you imagine God saying, this is where I want my ideas to live, in this one right here, Yolanda, in the little state of Delaware? Or wherever it is that you are. God is saying, I need this ideal to live right here in your soul, in your spirit, in your heart, in your mind. It could not live anywhere else. That seems so incredibly frightening when I say it. It seems so frightening to think that the divine intelligence that is present in all things is like, you know what? I have an idea and it needs to live right there. Ah, it's like, well, who am I to take that idea and make it real? It wouldn't live in you if it wasn't for you. And I need to go sit outside with my fan on that because it seems like, whoa, that's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot because you're a lot. Each and every single one of us is a receiver of the divine intelligence. It all depends on how much you're willing to let in, how much are you willing to ignore, how much are you willing to say, okay, I accept the challenge. Since you keep giving it to me, I can't get this thing out of my head, so let's go. But before we get to the end, let me make sure that the cause, the creation, is clear. And again, we do that through creating boundaries, having a spiritual practice, doing your soul work. It's all soul work, all of it. Even when you think it's insignificant, you being kind, you being nice, you being loving, you making the choice to be loving, even when it's difficult for you to do so. Man, listen, you know how many times I have wanted to cuss somebody out, tell somebody off, and I have to even confess that last week I was a little touchy with the amount of requests that people were making. I'm like, listen, I hope that I did it in a loving way, but I recognize that there is absolutely more love to be generated. I was really, really frustrated last week by some choices that other people were making. Um, I'm trying to be as discreet as possible. Um, and I recognized that in my frustration, nothing was going to get solved that way. But that level of frustration provided the motivation for me to turn it into something else. It's like, okay, Yolanda, if you are seeing something that is not existing in the way that you would like for it to exist, then how about you do what you can to provide it? So I could stay frustrated, I could stay angry, or I could make a different choice that says be more compassionate. And if you think love is absent, then that's what you provide. That's what you give, even when you don't want to be. And there are people that I really don't want to be loving to based upon some of the choices that they're making, but that might be exactly what they need. So, all right, God, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Because it's been done for me. I know it has. I know people have been loving to me at times when I wasn't lovable. And so I'm grateful. I'm grateful for the soul work that I have done, the soul work that I am doing, and that I get to share that with you. I'm grateful for those of you who trust me enough to participate in your soul work. There is more to come. As I said, the majority of it will be done in the evolved community as we are still building. Um, I don't know if there's ever going to be an official launch date or, hey, y'all, tell the masses. I don't really operate that way. I don't know that I need to. I'm good with the way in which God is showing me to go, and if it needs to be done differently, I trust that it will be shown. I'm so thankful for y'all. I am so grateful to be alive. I don't know if I've said that. Um, in quite some time. I'm grateful to be alive. I'm grateful to be alive. I'm grateful to be alive. And I'm grateful to be alive at a time when so much transformation is taking place. Let us continue to remain hopeful, remain hopeful that the same things that are being created within you are being created within the world, even when it doesn't look like it, even when it looks like things are getting worse. Trust and believe that cause and effect, um, the cause, the creations that we are all undertaking, they will have an effect. We may not be able to see it, we may not be witness to it, but trust and believe that it is happening because the law says so. My dear, thank you so much. You are a godsend, and I'm grateful that you are joining the Evolve community. Bring a friend or two. If you are the type that's like, I don't want to join in a space where I don't know anyone, well, then bring a friend with you. Bring your sister. Um, there are gifts that you can receive for referring other members to the community. Um, and I have gifts to give. So let's increase the membership so that we can do soul work together. Enjoy the rest of this Sunday. This Wednesday, in the Evolve community at 6 p.m., we will do a reflection on this work. And so we are going to take a deeper dive into spiritual law on Wednesday evening. And that's for people in the valley, that's for people in the peak, that's for people in the summit. Doesn't matter. The reflections are for everyone. But if you want to be a part of this spiritual book club that is starting in 2025, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. We are going to be reading the book, meeting to discuss the book. We're going to be crying about the book because that's what the book does. I'm not going to say what it is. You have to join the membership to find out what the book is. And I'm just excited. I'm excited. I'm excited. I love y'all. Thank you for sharing Sunday with me. Enjoy the rest of your week. If there is anything that I can do, you can reach me there. There is a chat feature. Reach out to me. Let me know what's going on, and I'll do my best to respond. Love y'all. Thank you. Bye bye.